Well, fellas. I was on Danny Jones' podcast 2 days ago. He rushed my podcast to the forefront because he was just on Joe Rogan's podcast just 2 weeks ago. And so Danny's trying to get me on Joe Rogan. I'm surprised he didn't shout me out or throw my name out there on Joe Rogan, because I've helped him. He admits on the podcast with me that I've helped him out with like tons of research into all these UFO guests and all this UFO subject, because I've been doing this for like 20 years and I know all this information and all the good questions, I know where all the bones are buried in these cases. I know so much shit about this stuff, and I've investigated from an unbiased standpoint. I've tried to, keep an open mind to all kinds of different stuff. Been attacked. Had a lot go on recently. Before the podcast, I had this contractor that I worked for just ripped me off, and I found out I can't go after him with the mechanics lien because there's already a whole bunch of other mechanics liens already filed on this property, and the first one to file it gets like first dibs on everything, and it's a big mess more. And I'm just like, within a payment that I was supposed to get 15 grand before I went to Florida to go on Danny Jones's podcast, like my whole business just went under, and I'm like now like really in a bad position, struggling. I got death threats that came against my family right in the middle of this. My channel is truly dangerous, and they want to bury this information. I would be surprised if I do get on Joe Rogan with the information that I could release. I'm surprised that it's been this long that he's taken to get Danny Jones and Jesse Michaels on his podcast. And those guys used a ton of my research, a ton of my talking points and stuff that they, that I've been putting out for years. And it's all being recycled. And these people are, again, claiming credit for all this stuff, which is just disgusting and sick how they're able to create these limited hangouts and use that. I really hope that Joe Rogan does reach out and that we can get through this barrier, because it was a miracle that I'm able to get on a podcast like this. The people accusing Danny Jones of being part of the intelligence community, and then the amount of people on this comments section just saying that I'm a total psyop and accusing me of all this crap, and then trying to frame what happened with Ashton Forbes as if I set Ashton up. Yeah, I set Ashton up with the podcast that launched his career. He got on Candace Owens after that, and all these other huge podcasts. It's ridiculous to say that I did anything other than what scientists and investigators do, and that's consult with subject matter experts on topics that you're unsure of or are outside of your expertise. You don't just claim to be an expert, and you consult with other subject matter experts and you talk to them and you run it by them. And it's just crazy. And then I go on this, and I have freaking half the comments are people saying, "Oh, this is definitely the psyops," and I just really undid like $1 billion worth of psyops that have been played on the UFO community and the American people. It's like, you talk to the average person in the UFO community, in the UFO field and stuff, and they think the secret to anti-gravity is element 115, and they have a very narrow, limited 30-year-old view of everything that's gone on with all this research and the technology and stuff. Which, I mean, people, if you're not familiar with the technical summaries that I've done, I've literally laid out how so much of this technology came from even the Nazis, the Operation Paperclip original research, the whole Nazi Bell thing, which we're going to get into that in a little bit. Eric Davis has come out with some comments on that. And then, of course, we've got other people that don't know anything about science trying to hijack that whole narrative and that whole thing as their own. It's just crazy that right as I come out on Danny Jones, you have Eric Davis coming out with this statement about Ed Fouché, who is a friend of mine and basically the guy who taught me all this stuff, in the same way that John Lear taught Jeremy Corbell everything he knows about ufology. I learned everything. I learned all my original stuff, the ropes, from Ed Fouché. And, I came towards the end where I realized that Ed Fouché covered up the fact that Teledyne Ryan built this TR-3A Black Manta. And there was this whole other stealth program run by Teledyne Ryan at the time out of San Diego, which San Diego is, again, where the Tic Tacs were made out of, by E-Green Technologies company. I think that that's the better match for whatever candidate. I haven't seen the evidence provided for Lockheed Martin Craft being responsible for the Tic Tac, but I showed that E-Green Technologies blimp. I believe I showed it on the Danny Jones podcast. I believe it's in there. So, but this Black Manta thing, it turns out that was what they're really working on. It was a predecessor for this B-2 bomber, which again was built at Site 4. This is a newspaper article clipping. I don't know exact. This is a book. I think it's a screenshot of a book that this is from. I'm not sure, but it says right here in the book that Site 4 in the Plant 42 at Palmdale is the place where the B-2 bomber was being produced in the late 1980s, when Bob Lazar came out with this story and said, "Oh, there's this base in the desert called Site 4, and it's where we reverse engineer aliens. It's at Papoose Lake, and it's more top secret than Area 51." So it's to the south of Area 51, and there's really no evidence of a base there. We did the pilot that took the rare aerial photos of Area 51 had the unique opportunity to fly over it while it was closed and shut down during the winter months around Christmas time, and he got the permit, and with the really super high definition camera and a huge lens on that baby, they took some super detailed pictures of Area 51 and Papoose Lake, right, the exact area where Bob Lazar claims that it's not shown here, but we have the photos, and I don't know if they're posted anywhere. They were buried. They were posted all over. On George Knapp covered this story, and then when he realized that it totally debunked Bob's story of there being a base out there, by showing the flatness of the whole topography, the stuff you can't see from Google Earth, right? It showed the real layout of where and it just shows that, like, no, Bob's story makes absolutely no sense, that they have this hangar right up to the dry lake bed, that they rolled the UFOs out directly onto the dry lake bed at this testing facility. There's no way with the geography and the topography that it could happen. And George Knapp pulled that story off the site, and it's no longer up on his site, but it was up there for a while, and you can search this, and a lot of the stuff, they buried the photos of the Papoose Lake, but it just shows how the efforts that they've gone through to push disinformation, and the disinformation agents, which are these fake actors that they've put out, like Lou Elizondo, who I described, did the whole 9/11 framing of the people, the terrorists at Guantanamo Bay, and the black torture site before they got there, where a lot of the dirtier stuff was done. All that's in the classified documents. It doesn't come out, but I have inside source. I've been researching the 9/11 stuff for decades, and we know a little bit more about what's in there than the public does. But it all needs to come out. It all needs to be declassified. And that he bragged about, using remote viewing to torture these Guantanamo suspects. And the reality is that the CIA has electronic weapons. And he got all the way in front of UFO Congress to be representing ufology for all of UFO land as this supposed expert and head of the Pentagon's program, the most knowledgeable guy supposedly in the entire world on UFOs, that they framed this guy to be. And this is what he produced before Congress, was a picture of center pivot crop irrigation circles. Doesn't make any sense. He has to have flown in a plane. He has to know what these were. There's no possible explanation that I accept, other than he's a disinformation agent who's been posing this whole time and flopped on purpose, and is intentionally sabotaged this UAP hearing, which now is getting delayed, and and then all mixed up again. They're going to try to sabotage it again. And this is what the CIA and the intelligence agencies and the intelligence community do routinely with all these congressional hearings on anything that comes in front of them, is they co-opt them and they insert counterintelligence agents and their people inside all this stuff. And it's stupid that people don't realize that how they get played again and again and again by these ops. And nobody, like, people attacked me for years for calling out the ops and calling him a disinformation agent. You know, Steve Bassett, you know, argued till he's blue in the face with me that this UAP Act was going through and all this stuff is, and these guys are good, and he's part of he's on the same team. You know, why are you attacking Lou? Same team, same team. No, this is, I know disinfo ops. I know limited hangout operations when I see them. I've been doing this far too long. I've called out so many of these people, and I called out so many of them on Danny Jones. I thought that was just great. People have no idea how dangerous some of these people are. They're basically paid to create threat narratives to start wars for profit for the CIA. That's exactly their job. They created the whole threat narrative for the war on terror with his torturing and the 9/11 stuff. And then he's supposedly next, you know, sheep dipped and comes out like, no, I'm the Pentagon's expert in UFOs now. And I'm going to help the UFO community get to the truth about UFOs. And yeah, dude, there was tons of comments on the Danny Jones thing calling me an agent, man. You guys got to jump in the chat and stick up for me and help argue this so that people don't dismiss this, because especially the Epstein UFO files, a lot of people just saw the title and no, I'm not even going to click on this. But you can see a lot of people have circled back around to it, and there's a lot of people that are like, wow, this is definitely warrants a rewatch. And then there's even people that accuse me of scooping Mike Bence, who was just on Julian Dory. They're like, oh, you just stole all Mike Bence's research, and it's interesting that this comes out the same time, and you kind of like steal a lot of the thunder from no, I'm not stealing anyone's thunder. In fact, I encourage everyone to go to Julian Dory's podcast and watch this, because it just shows you that independent researchers like this guy, Mike Bence, he's incredible. He's got stuff that I didn't know, but we're all finding this. The good researchers are digging this stuff up and finding this or rediscovering it. Mike Rupert's work and what happened to Mike Rupert, man, it's very similar to what they did to Mike Rupert is what they're doing to me right now. They're trying to bankrupt me, and force me into like a poor economic state, and where I have no options left. It's crazy. But he also shows the same video to Julian Dory. Mike Bence is great. And he talks about all the Iran-Contra stuff, but he talks about all these airports and stuff, which reminded me of this whole airport thing that I once heard that he didn't mention that I wanted to bring up and tie into all this 9/11 stuff, because it's super, super important to, you know, Bill Barr being the guy who covered up the whole Iran-Contra scandal alongside Rudy Giuliani, and how they did that. But the real thing is when it comes into those connections that I made and how they connect, the QAM company, so the Kuwaiti American Corporation, he's talking all this stuff about the Kuwait War and the Iran-Contra War and the Iran-Contra scandal stuff. QAM, Kuwaiti American Corporation, were the same people linked to when they had that propaganda that was put out with the girl that said that they had the babies in the incubators and they were throwing the babies on the ground and leaving them to scream and die on the floor, like to dehumanize the Kuwaitis and of the Iraqis, so that we could as war propaganda to basically, this is the war propaganda that started the Gulf War, right? That whole thing. Well, the private intelligence network, QAM, was connected to the parent company for the security company for the World Trade Center on 9/11. So the Stratosec also had contracts to provide security for United Airlines, which owned two of the planes that were destroyed on 9/11. Again, United Airlines Flight 175 and United Airlines Flight 93, right? or was it 77? No, 77 was American Airlines, and that was Dulles Airport where that took off. And so they also had security contracts for Dulles Airport, where American Airlines took off of. Flight 77 took off of. So they had control over like 75% of the airports and the World Trade Center. That's a huge portion of the 9/11 crime scene. And for this not to be investigated, not to be talked about and hushed under the rug with what we're learning about Epstein's connections to World Trade Center tenant Howard Lutnick, who's now Trump's tariff guy, and the whole Trump-Epstein triangle there. They're definitely covering up the Epstein files, and I'm firmly convinced that it's because of 9/11. And it explains why the Epstein files were not declassified under Biden, even though they implicated Trump, right? So people are like, oh, if the files implicated Trump, then they would have been released under Biden. Biden would have totally, released them to compromise Trump. And the answer is no, because the people that those files compromise are directly tied to the network that did 9/11, the BCCI and the Iran-Contra scum and this Kuwaiti American corporation, the people that loaded, that jumped on right after the 1993 World Trade Center bombing and built this new integrated security system inside the buildings and upgraded everything, right? This was the company that did it. They need to be investigated. If you investigate them, you'll find them, all their directors. This guy, Wirt Walker, who I talked about, and Barry McDaniel is a vice president of SAIC now. And Wirtz works for a private equity firm that's right in Reston, Virginia, right next to the CIA. So it's like, these guys, this is a CIA operation, bro. These are all like a private intelligence network, and it's tied to so much more crap than just the Epstein stuff. Because John Brennan's going down for this whole Russian collusion hoax, and then they're trying to distract everyone with Obama. Well, Obama wasn't in the picture there with George Bush painting, right? George Bush became a painter and started doing painting and publicity stunts as a painter. So if you look up George Bush painting or anything like that, you'll find all this other stuff that's totally unrelated, because he didn't want people finding this painting that was done of him that was in one of Epstein's homes, right? I think this was in the home that he sold to Howard Lutnick. He had the blue dress on 9. The blue dress was on 9 71st Street, the property on 9 71st Street, so the Strauss house, right? And the property next door that he sold to Lutnick through the Comet Trust had this painting in it, and that was 11 71st Street. So 9 and 11 71st Street. Yeah, it sounds stupid when I brought it up on Danny Jones. But it's these elites are super into all that symbology stuff and all that elite stuff. And the fact that the main CEO of the biggest company in the World Trade Center that missed work that morning bought that house right next door to Jeffrey Epstein. There's more to these files, dude. Jeffrey Epstein was rigging houses with cameras and microphones and security surveillance equipment to record everything that went on inside those homes, man. To think that he sold a house to Howard Lutnick during that time that wasn't completely wired for compromat collection is insane. So what did they collect on Howard Lutnick, and how did that lead to him not going to work on the morning of 9/11? And, obviously this network that did these things spared a lot of people in the right positions for, purposes that they would come in handy later, like Lutnick appearing now to head, sit on Bush's shoulder while they cover up the Epstein files, because of what's in the Epstein files. And I hope that thank God for podcasters, thank God for Julian Dory and Danny Jones. God bless you guys. You guys are doing God's work. Really. And I'm looking forward to doing Julian's show soon afterwards, because of the great guests that he's had on and how much that we can add to this conversation when we start diving into Stratosec and those deeper connections, right? the World Trade Center fireproofing upgrades that occurred in 1998, right as this house was being sold to Howard Lutnick. All this stuff that are now coming into view that was once in the darkness but happened all around that nobody knew about. And people like this and Robert Mueller came into the Justice Department and helped cover up. Now, Mike Bentz, definitely follow him if you can. Subscribe to him. He's doing excellent work. I'm trying to get him to come on my show. He's talking about John Brennan just published a book called Undaunted: My Fight Against America's Enemies at Home and Abroad. So your former CIA director, you're not supposed to be fighting enemies at home, dude. The fact that you'd put that right on your book cover, that you were fighting America's enemies at home, it's like, I'm a criminal. That's what that says to any intelligent person who reads that. You're just advertising that you're a criminal, that criminals run and direct our CIA now. Criminals. This is who becomes director of the CIA. You don't come director of the CIA unless you're a criminal. Some of them are, kitty diddlers. Some of them worked at the Jeddah station in Saudi Arabia and forced their underlings, like whistleblower J. Michael Springman, to issue 13 of the 19 9/11 hijackers their visas, allowing, even including two that were known CIA agents, like working for, like, in the Al-Qaeda, embedded in the Al-Qaeda cell, supposedly, and the official story, oh, they were just double agents who turned on us on 9/11 when they hijacked the planes. Bullshit. You knew these guys, and you got them visas to come to the country, 13 of them, and they ended up being the 9/11 hijackers, and you're the one whose hand did all that? Like, John Brennan needs to be arrested, like, immediately. If this were me or you, we'd be in a cell, like, all our movements and phone calls and mail, any messaging, everything monitored by prosecutors. Like, what has happened to this country, dude? And my comments on the Pizzagate thing, people saying, oh my God, he doesn't believe in the Pizzagate stuff. This guy is definitely a psyop and disinformation. And I'm like, bro, the Comet Pizza had nothing to do with this pedophile ring and ping pong pizza, right? It was this Comet Trust that Jeffrey Epstein, and they put out all this disinformation to take everyone's attention off the Comet Trust and the connection between Lutnick and Jeffrey Epstein, right? And they replaced that with this propaganda, this QAnon bullshit that got some guy to shoot up a pizza place, right? The QAnon Pizzagate shooter, right? They got a guy so mad thinking that there was this secret thing underneath the pizza parlor that he got a whole bunch, he got a whole bunch of guns and started shooting this place up, right? Thinking there was this big conspiracy, and it was all disinformation to take people's eyes off. And they loved it. They loved that this created so much news and distraction for the real Comet Trust and the real, pizza connections. That pizza was a code name for children. Nobody spends $35,000 on pizza, as some of these people did, apparently, according to the files that still won't be released because they're being used as compromat by government agencies and not who refuse to bring these people to a fair justice system, because justice is two-tiered. It no longer exists in this country. And we have, paid disinformation agents who come from a background where they get paid to start wars, to manufacture events or manufacture evidence that will be used to start wars, threat narratives. Very, very interesting connections. I hope that people got that whole why it was. I didn't argue that it was fitting that he named the podcast right, UFO files, Epstein's UFO files, because these are Epstein's UFO files. This is all, these things are connected, and they're connected through a couple key agencies like SAIC, which backwards is CIA's, right? And Battelle has been instrumental in a lot of this top secret UFO stuff. And the UFO crimes and 9/11 crimes are both financial crimes that involve exploitation of technologies that are unknown to the public. That's what that's my coup de grace of what I'm trying to say, what I put forward. And I hope that, you know, people got with it, right? So, yeah, thanks, guys. I'm going to answer questions now. So if you said something, I'm not going to scroll all the way back up. I don't have time to read all this. And if I get distracted, if I read the chat while I'm trying to stream. But yeah, type in what you want me to notice, and what information you think I should be paying attention. Yeah, and speaking of comets, right? Comets, there's a big interstellar object coming our way right now, and this has been Jeremy. I call out Jeremy Corbell at the end of this, and you know, when Danny said, "Oh, you know, all these guys everyone accuses everyone of being an agent," because, you know, we were just talking about how Ashton Forbes accused Danny of being an agent and setting him up for that Corridor Crew interview and threatening his life and to destroy his life over it, and I thought that was just childish. So I wanted to call Ashton out on that, and you know, I'm glad that I did. And he showed his true character, spreading lies about me. Oh, I never had your phone number. I was like, yeah, you did. I emailed it to you like back in April. Here's the email. And I'll show it to any journalist that wants to investigate that. And I'll forward them the email if they want to see it. So, yeah, it's just kind of, it's crazy, the whole controversy. Danny doesn't even want to talk about the guy, you know. And there was one person who thought I was being serious when I said that Ashton Forbes cracked free energy, that as if he really did. And I was being sarcastic, you know, because the people working on the free energy stuff is like Larry Forsley, who, by the way, Larry, if you go on Demystify Psi, these guys used to have Demystifying Science podcast. That I've been on their show. They've been on here a couple times. They just had Demystify Sci-a-thon. They just interviewed Bob Greenyer. They got so they got some of these Electric Universe guys and stuff. But check out the interview that they did with that guy. Where is it? Larry Forsley. Come on, where's Larry Forsley? It's going to be on their page. So if you go to Demystifying Science podcast, go to their page and then type in Forsley. Yes. I must have just gone by. Yeah. Yes. So there's Larry Forsley. Go watch this one. He just runs through fusion and explains everything. 3 hours long, and you'll be like all caught up to speed and an expert on the fusion stuff. That's real free energy. None of that other cold like electricity crap or free energy stuff. A lot of there's so much nonsense on free energy. This guy's the real way forward, and I hope that people get funding for this soon, because that would be. I'll jump right on that, I'm pretty much done with construction, man. These contractors that rip people off and don't want to pay, and the nonsense I've dealt with and destroying my body for it. It's just I need to switch it up. But Harvard physicists, yeah, and I had one person in the comments, my comments about construction materials and the blue roofs and versus asphalt roofs and everything, and funny. I've done construction for a lot of construction. Built all kinds of things. I build build crazy physics experiments and all kinds of crazy stuff. So build everything. But the Harvard physicists been tracking. Obviously, Avi Loeb's been tracking these interstellar objects. He's been all about this stuff since Oumuamua came, and they've got the whole astronomy department and probably tons of people working under him, tracking every object that there is. So they obviously knew that this was coming, or that it's going to come into the solar system. Jeremy Corbell made an announcement a while back about these. It was back in January 2025. Right at the start of the year, he makes this stupid announcement. You're going to be told there's a craft on its way to Earth, and it's 100% a lie that you're going to be told. So I'm proving I'm the guy that exposes the lies, man. It's a lie that you're going to be told. And who's telling the lie now? It's I don't know who or what, but this is all being rolled out rather strangely. And Avi Loeb is the guy now telling the lie, which is crazy. Apparently, according to Jeremy Corbell, he said that someone's going to come out and lie and say that there could be an alien object and an alien probe, right? And that's Avi Loeb. 22 hours ago, Avi Loeb, Harvard physicist, suggests interstellar object could be an alien probe. Very peculiar. So this is Jeremy Corbell making accurate predictions about the future, like he knew this was going to happen. Bro, this is like setup news, and after, like, Avi Loeb has very low credibility right now. In fact, Professor Dave, most recent video was on Avi Loeb, the guy that torched Ashton Forbes and made him cry, and may threaten Dave's family and go after him too. Really, really wild stuff. Then you shouldn't be doing that. Like, for people we disagree with. I don't agree with Dave on everything. I'm a conspiracy theorist, and this guy can't even figure out that COVID was like a BlackRock operation, totally set up by a few billionaires to really take control of everything. BlackRock owning Amazon and Walmart. Why do you think Amazon and Walmart were open and everything was shut down during this whole pandemic, dude? Like, you can't, just common sense, these people can't friggin' put certain stuff together. There's like this cognitive dissonance and block in their brain. They're like, no, the academics have to be right. But yeah, dude. So why don't I get on Joe Rogan's podcast? Because he hasn't invited me, and but he will too soon, man. Both Jesse Michaels and Danny Jones seem to be gunning for me to get on and debate this whole Lazar thing. They're on the fence with it, or going back and forth. I brought it's there's a lot going on there with the whole Lazar stuff. That's a big part of UFO disclosure. But yeah, he just did a big video on Avi Loeb. Yeah, Avi Loeb's a fraud now, 2 days ago. This one. Avi Loeb, 2 days ago. And this already has more views than my video on my interview on Danny Jones. So this is and this is a lot of science community people like now seeing this, and there's a lot of evidence that he's done some, shady stuff for publicity, it seems. I always wondered why he avoided my show when we're so deep into science and real disclosure and talking about this stuff. And then even when he interviewed on Ashton Forbes and went on Ashton Forbes's interview, he just was totally ignorant or pretended to know nothing about any of the advanced physics or the science and stuff that I pioneered the disclosure of, not Ashton. Ashton takes credit for so much of that stuff, and it's crazy that people that are just getting into him and watching his streams are just like, dude, I've been talking about this shit for like 10 years now, and I'm burnt out. I can't do a stream. I have kids and like a whole bunch of stuff to do. I can't do like a stream every night talking about this stuff that I've been exposing and talking about since friggin' 2008, for Christ's sake. It's like, thank you, Taryn Art, for the $10 chat, man, or CHF. I don't know if that's dollars. I'm not sure. Either way, thank you. Every little bit helps. It would be awesome. People, I need your support. I'm not paid to friggin' do this. Nobody pays me to go on here and spread real information on exposed billion-dollar psyops. In fact, it's quite the opposite. I get attacked quite a bit. especially when I start covering the real deep COVID stuff. I want people to, they want real information on what happened with BlackRock and the whole scamdemic. Watch this video 4 days ago, Orbit Report. Very, very, this sugar conspiracy, this whole thing with the Coca-Cola going on. Everything makes so much more sense once you see how BlackRock and Blackstone Group ties into everything. Because one of the big things I've always pointed out is like those videos are going to be argued over. People are going to say they're CGI, and then Ashton and a couple other people are going to say, "Oh no, the source data pictures for the video didn't exist on the internet when the CGI was made. They came out later, so it couldn't have been CGI. These couldn't have been the stock images. Someone, post-created those afterwards so they could use that as the debunking." And there's going to be this, retarded back and forth with all that forever. And I always said the key thing is this Blackstone group, BlackRock connection. So Blackstone Group and BlackRock are very much connected. They're basically like a recreation and a spinoff by some of the same people. And I can't explain it without going into the detail that James goes into in this. Just watch this video that James Corbett and Corbett Report put out 4 days ago on BlackRock and how they conquered the world. This will blow your mind. It left me shaking after I watched this video because of how much it connected for me and how much I learned about how they've just done and taken over everything. When I found out they had their big meeting in Wyoming the same day that the whole COVID thing hit and came out, it just makes so much sense, dude, about everything that happened afterwards, especially with their investments and what they own. They own Walmart and they own Amazon, man. Those two, like everything went over to Walmart and Amazon when we were all locked down and they shut down every other business, man. They fucking bankrupted America, man. It is insane what they did to this country and how much they stole from you, me, everybody's future, man. And they just put it in the hands of a couple of huge mega corporations. They robbed everybody and they're just gutting the middle class right now, man. It's like, it is literally, we're exposing demons right now and they've taken so much money and they're bankrupting everybody, man. It's like, I've never seen it like this right now in the construction industry, what's going on right now, thanks to what BlackRock has done. We should have, it's summertime. I should be booming. My phone should be ringing off the hook with calls that I can't even get back to people right now. And I'm putting in advertisements out and I'm not getting a single hit. And I'm seeing tons of other people jump on jobs when they do come out. And it's ridiculous because right now there's ICE taking about half the labor force out of this country with all the immigrants that do all this work and stuff. So something's just not right. And people don't have money right now. People are all struggling. Everything costs double what it used to. There's hidden fees and everything. And yeah, it's just crazy how the landlord, yes, America's landlord, they've literally like bought out so much infrastructure and then are renting it. There's tons of these there's a whole bunch of spin-off companies with similar names that do all the property management. I just saw one this morning. I was like, dude, that's another Blackstone Group thing. I looked it up. Can't remember the name now, but dude, they're it's not going to be Plandemic 2.0. I don't think they're going to get away with it a second time. They won't. Too many people were kind of on the, like, they almost had me at one point, but man, I snapped out of it really quickly once I went to, it was right before Thanksgiving. My whole family was like trying to convince me that it was bad and I had to go get tested before I went to, and they were mad that I didn't get vaccinated and I was going to go to Thanksgiving. And I caught COVID that for the first time at that Thanksgiving from my fully vaccinated family. And that's when I knew the whole thing was bullshit. And I never went back from there. But in any case, I'm surprised we're allowed to talk about this. I was super shadow banned and got a lot of my interviews taken down. There was whole other channels that got taken down because of interviews I did on their channel where I let loose a little bit extra than I normally would on this channel, just holding back because of fear of the algorithm and the shadow banning and the censorship that goes into all this stuff. It's massive money that they're making off of all this, and massive finances go into suppressing people who speak the truth and expose this. They want to keep us all confused and separated and fighting each other. And you know, I've had a lot of people reach out and say, I think that whole Ashton Forbes drama thing was somebody else trying to rile things up to just cause more division and more infighting in the movement. So it's like, I'm gonna see what other people have to say about it and interview them and try to get to the bottom of some of the bad behaviors and really expose that, because that needs to stop. That needs to just end right there. No more threatening anybody for disagreeing on stuff. That's not how we win these fights. We win these fights by continuously arguing for the truth and continuously put the truth out there until it's until people understand it and receive it, like and then catapulting that and pushing it above the algorithms, because the algorithm's not going to push the real free energy stuff. They're going to push the fake stuff. But it's crazy that, you know, Jeremy Corbell, I threw out a challenge to him, and he's response is to, you know, basically jump on this whole UFO alien invasion thing that Avi Loeb is now somehow weirdly part of creating this whole fake. And got P. Diddy say, I know the aliens are coming. You got a lot of weird stuff, and you know what? This is all stuff that JeremyRys, AlienScientist, predicted years ago. Go to my channel, do a search right here for Carol Rawson. Go find the video right here. How a faked alien invasion could jumpstart the New World Order. When did I post that video? When did I post that video? 14 years ago. You see that? 14 years ago. Try to catch up, fucking people. Try to catch up. All right? Where was Jeremy fucking Corbell 14 years ago, motherfuckers? You're talking to the OG. You better recognize. Where was Jeremy Corbell 14 years ago? Can anyone tell me? He wasn't calling out, you know, people connected to Werner von Braun and the Rand Corporation, right? Wasn't making videos talking about that, right? Well, who was? Yours truly. Proof's in the pudding. Go to AlienScientist. For real. People want to talk shit, and like I just, it's crazy. And then they're like, "Oh, you're wrong on Lazar." Well, where am I wrong? I made my claims. I stated my claims. I made my points, and we did the research. Some of it live on the show. I was wrong about the Crystal Cove. It was the Newport Cove, right? I messed up one word, and I got the illegal confused with the legal brothel. They were the other way around. But other than that, right? My information checked out, right? I'm not a perfect memory. I have some good recall, but I'm human. I get things wrong. I won't get it wrong again. Now that I was corrected on Danny Jones' podcast in front of 215,000 people, right? But that's not many views I used to get back in the day. I used to get big numbers of views on my videos when I posted stuff. And then something happened around 2014, 2015. And then this whole TTSA operation came out full force, and the 38 pages overshadowed all the metamaterials and invisibility and anti-gravity research that I'd done before that. And that's when I went into real full gear, and I started putting together these massive summaries where I just could lay out all the information and show, you know, like, well, there's an S4 at Tonopah test range called Area 52, worked on electronic warfare stuff. And then there was the Site 4 at B2, where they built the B2 in Palmdale, right? And there's no TR3B that I could find any evidence of, but we did find evidence of this whole TR3A Black Manta stealth program and videos that were declassified on the San Diego National Space Museum archive from Teledyne Ryan, which closed in 1998 and was absorbed into several other aviation giants. I think Northrop Grumman took them over, bought them out, super mergers. But yeah, again, the Element 115 stuff and the scientists that were killed while cutting into a core, that's right from the Fat Man Little Boy story that was in a movie that came out the same year in 1988. It's in theaters. It's a big story. Bob obviously copying some of that information. We know the real scientists, and not a lot of people talk about the real scientists. Done a lot of hard work, research and legwork to dig up the names of the real scientists who worked on the UFO related stuff. And it's not very many of them. It's a very small and classified unit and group. And these are just the people that we know of. So again, people, I would love to get on Joe Rogan and just unload on all the technologies, all the stuff that I've declassified and found and learned over the years of studying this stuff and debating it with experts and consulting with experts, having experts on panels, having the APEC conferences, having open mics, talk about my theories for what the Tic Tac could be. I don't know what evidence exists out there, but again, yeah, we talk about this whole idea where Stephen Greer may have got the notion and that they figured this out in 1954. I don't believe they did. If they did, our lab would have replicated this and figured it out by now. We've tried, 70 years worth of research and replicated it, all documented and shown. And who gets the benefit from that? I mean, that's research that the government kept classified and spent billions of dollars to cover up and not get out to the public. And we went and redid the research ourselves in a lab on private funding and released a lot of the results publicly, man. Like I absolutely should be, in a position to handle this stuff for Congress. I know where the money should be spent. I know what we need to, what's a waste of time. I can navigate this field better than probably most of the people in the government, man. Like, yeah. And I got people like Sarfati in my friggin' right hand, man. He's on speed dial on my phone. I can call Sarfati right now. He'll pick up for me, bro. I went and hung out with him in San Francisco and went to Cafe Trieste, man. Like, we're doing this. We're doing real disclosure over here, and it's being shadow banned and censored and covered up by a group of just satanic, weirdos, man, that do weird things. I don't do none of that crap. Study metamaterials and research all kinds of cool science. I dig into people get arrested for classified stuff who are related to labs that are obviously doing classified research. Dig into what they did their PhD on and everything about them. Learn about the technology, who's leveraging the technology, who's funding that technology, what are they using it for? I mean, that's all the real shit that is documented. That's what they don't want you to know. And then you get Joe Rogan on there. Did you see the hydrogen car video? Bob Lazar, look how smart this dude is. I mean, did you see his hydrogen car video? Jamie, bring up the hydrogen car video, but only show like the first part. Don't show the part where he claims, the lithium hydride's safe and that the government only regulates it because, they don't want people having hydrogen cars. And don't play the part where he says how he got the lithium hydride from making it in his particle accelerator, because Bob Lazar very definitely says that in the extended you know, hydrogen car video if you watch the whole thing. And it's at the end. Let's find it. Yep. Do that. Show him how to do that. Where he's like, yeah, you just go to your particle accelerator. Where's that part? Did they cut it out? Yeah. You see a lot of these are edited so you can't see it. It's not in all these videos, but you'll find one right at the end and he's like, oh, well, of course you make it in your particle accelerator. Yeah, this is it right here. I'm going to show. See, it's edited out of some of them, so you won't find it. But I'm going to show it to you guys right now. So you guys are going to see some shit. If you haven't seen this already, we'll revisit it. Here's the hydrogen car video that so convinced Joe Rogan. This is Jeremy Corbell's argument.
Used for any other civilian purposes. So you can't even purchase the material.
No.
Which is why we had to make it.
You made it?
Yeah, we made it.
But isn't that, don't you need big particle accelerators and things?
So that was the one loophole. You can make the material, you can't buy it. So
where's the particle? You have a particle accelerator?
Yeah, so all you have to do is build a particle accelerator and you can make all the hydride you need.
The biggest thing that stands in the way right now is just getting that material inside the tank, that hydride material.
Right.
And the reason you can't is because
it's a weapon material.
But there's nothing dangerous about it.
No, it's
it
just
won't
used
blow up.
A weapon, right?
Well, beryllium's used in a weapon too. You know,
right?
Like basically, this whole thing boils down.
Right. Let's read the MSDS sheet on beryllium and compare it with lithium hydride. Right. Look how he double face palm right at the end is the best part of that video because it just shows he's just
too. You know,
right?
Like,
right. Oh,
basically, this whole thing boils down.
Someone's gonna see through my bullshit. God. Someone smart out there is gonna see through this, man. Let's just ask Grok, man. I want to know. Grok. Don't always consult AI, but you know it's really good for questions like this, man. It could do it way faster than any kid could. You know, you pick your top grad student and ask them to calculate how many gumballs will fit in my Chevy Express, you know, van, and Grok will do it in 2 minutes. It'll take a student, you know, quite a bit of calculation to sit and figure that one out. But Grok will figure something like that out like real fast. So let's ask it. Grok, how long would it take to make 1 kilogram of lithium hydride using a particle accelerator? Oh, producing lithium hydride using a particle accelerator is an unconventional approach. That means nobody does this. Lithium hydride is typically synthesized through chemical methods, such as reacting lithium metal with hydrogen gas. However, since the question specifies using a particle accelerator, I'll interpret this as exploring a hypothetical nuclear or particle-based process form, LIH, possibly through nuclear reactions or transmutation. This requires making some assumptions as particle accelerators are not standard tools for lithium hydride production. Let's break it down. Lithium hydride composition consists of lithium and hydrogen. Naturally, lithium is primarily 7%, or not actually 92.5% lithium 7 and 7.5% lithium 6. With hydrogen as H1 protium or H2 deuterium. For simplicity, we're targeting Li7 and H1 to form LiH. Particle accelerator role. A particle accelerator could theoretically be used to induce nuclear reactions to produce lithium or hydrogen isotopes, which could then be chemically combined to lithium hydride. Possible reactions include neutron capture or proton bombardment to produce lithium isotopes, right, from helium. You bombard neutrons onto lithium, and proton bombardment to lithium to hydrogen, and you'll create the next highest element up if you can get one of those protons to stick to the nucleus, right? Fusion or spallation to general required nuclei. However, these processes are inefficient for bulk material production compared to chemical synthesis. Right. I want to know how long it will take. Okay. So using a particle accelerator to produce 1 kilogram of lithium hydride via nuclear reactions, generating lithium-7, right, from helium, would take on the order of 24 million years under optimistic assumptions. Primarily due to, so there's no fucking way that Bob Lazar made the lithium hydride in his particle accelerator because he couldn't buy it from the government, bro. It would take him 24 million years, dude. Just ask Rock. Lies. But yet, if you don't understand science, you don't have a conceptual understanding of what these concepts mean, what these things do, and how they work. You can be like, dude, man, watch the hydrogen car video. Yo, man, did you see Bob Lazar with the hydrogen? Yo, Jamie, bring up the hydrogen car video. That proves Bob Lazar is like really knows his stuff, and he's not lying. Anyways. All right. All right, Michael. Hey, Michael, I think did I send you an email with the link, man? I want you can jump in here. Okay, Bob lied and ran brothels. But we also know that lots of people in the programs were connected to the mafia and the continuity of government program. Yeah, we know that, Jack Parsons hosted sex magic parties with his wife and engaged in all kinds of occult practices and rituals. They summoning demons and all kinds of crazy stuff, right? So some of the people in those programs were connected to all kinds of crazy stuff, right? And maybe, they brought him in, but there's no evidence that Bob is connected to the program, man. Did you not see the interview that I did with TD Barnes, right? I don't know if you know who TD Barnes is, man. They've Mystery Wire and George Knapp have really tried to get ahead of this guy's story, which is crazy. Because you look it up, you find Mystery Wire is the first thing that comes up. And they really asked him specifically leading questions and cut and edited that so heavily. You want to see the best interview you'll ever watch with TD Barnes in it, go watch. Words like I've watched. I don't even know if the guy's still alive anymore, man. It's been a while. Where's TD Barnes? Let me look him up, man. TD Barnes, not Larry Barnes. Oh, that's a whole nother rabbit hole. TD Barnes, right? So when I interviewed TD Barnes, he's the head of special projects out at Area 51. So he was there for a long time from the old generation and oversaw a lot of the new generation stuff. And he described like every 20 years, like what they do is that they basically select a whole group of young guys that are all interested in the same thing. So what they did is they bought out this whole neighborhood in Las Vegas that was all surrounded by this artificial lake, this big lake, right? So a lake, and then they selected all these guys from the military that were young and into electronics and into boats specifically, so that all of them would own a boat. And they gave them all a house with a boat on the lake with the boat, and everyone in that whole street and that whole neighborhood was all Area 51 CIA guys that worked, including the guy at the very end of the house who was the main guard for Wackenhut, who was the gate guy. So they watched everyone who worked at the base, and everyone that came in and out of there, was like a more or less, you wouldn't even know if you drove through that neighborhood on accident. You'd be like, they'd have you on a list and be watching you. So yeah, that's how it ran for years, man. And so everybody knew each other at that program. They all were guys that knew each other. They were all friends. And well, they brought in a couple outside guys who were military guys to do some, standard activity and test stuff. Like Ed Fouché said, he worked at he was stationed at Nellis, and then went out there for some F-15 testing stuff. So there are guys that from the military that do go out there and get stationed out there and stuff. Yeah, I don't know, man. I wonder if the secret that I'm pretty sure the secret that he told Danny Jones about Bob Lazar is that the story's fake, but if you pretend it's real, you make money and you get lots of views. Because that seems to be what's going on. Although I don't know. Danny would just joked around every time I tried to ask him what the secret was. He wouldn't tell me. He wouldn't be serious about it, man. So I just don't really know what the heck the point of that is. But the whole idea the point I was trying to make about Area 51 and how it works is, Theodore Barnes describes all this and talks about it, man, how they set up the security on this place. There wasn't outsiders, and anyone that was an outsider would be someone that he would have known. He oversaw everything that went on out there. And I asked him about the Tic Tacs. I asked him about what Fravor saw specifically, what Graves saw, these pilots, all these different things, And Graves, he says that cube within a sphere is Project Palladium. It's these balloons. They have two of them, and that one will pop and another one will simultaneously inflate, the same size, the same thing, and they might have a bunch of them in a row so that it gives a couple radar blips, and they can make it look like the object went from sea level at zero velocity to 10,000 feet, 30,000 feet, or 50,000 feet in a matter of mere seconds, almost like it teleported. But it didn't teleport. They just spoofed the radar with a bunch of these Project Palladium radar reflector balloons, which would pop and then reappear. And they were designed with the radar reflection to give a radar reflection that would look like, the aircraft on radar. It produces a signal that they pick up and that they say, oh, that's got to be this kind of aircraft. They have some sensitive equipment that sees these other kinds of signatures and stuff. But yeah, it's some crazy stuff with the Project Palladium balloons. He says that was what was on the East Coast with Graves, what he saw with the cubes within a sphere, those types of things, right? And the Tic Tacs, he says, is spoofing technology. He says ECCMs, electronic countermeasures, these laser-induced plasmas. He wouldn't go into all the specifics on how they make them and how they produce them. And I asked him about ground-based, if you could hide these things in the ground. He said, oh, yeah, you could, but it's a very interesting. I'm going to go revisit this interview at some point because I asked him a lot. I asked him every question in the book. I've seen every interview that he's ever done. And I asked him got straight to a lot of people that aren't familiar with this case will not see it as the best interview, but he certainly took the questions. He knew exactly what I was talking about and leading on to with all my questions. Although a lot of beginner viewers watch this stuff and they're just they don't quite get all the context and everything. Yeah, the southern states, that's nuts, man. I don't know what's going on up here. It's nobody has work, but they shipped out half the workforce. So, but anyways, yeah. Any questions, comments? We're at the 1 hour mark. I have a £10 donation from Skytrekker. Keep up the good fight. I really appreciate that, man. It's been a rough past couple of weeks. I put everything, my heart and soul, into this movement. And yeah, I went down to Florida, man. I was just down there. I'm getting ready to pack up out of here and move down there. It's just the Democrats have no money left now that USAID has been exhausted. I think that's what it is. It's just my geographic area. I'm in demo hell up here in Rhode Island. And so all the Democrats just lost all their funding because of what Trump did to USAID and this whole thing. So I think that might have a lot to do with it. That would explain why the southern states are all booming, because those are all Republican red states. So yeah, there might be that's a good point. Yep, exactly. Everyone's moving out of here, or They're super expensive. Yeah, I love Florida, man. I was just down there. I could totally move back down there. That's a swamp. It's a swamp of a state already. It needs all kinds of rehab and work, man. Yeah, man, it's crazy what's going on. It's he's losing a lot. Trump's losing a lot of support from his base. You know, I will no longer wear my Trump hat out in public, man. I just feel ashamed about the whole Epstein files thing. It's such a blatant, obvious cover up, and it's like, who can get behind that? Not me. I have children, man. I can't get behind that anymore, man. It's just you're gonna bail out Ghislaine Maxwell so she can testify to Congress that, oh no, my buddy Trump had nothing to do with it as a get out of jail free card. Like, get the fuck out. What is going on in this country, man? It's we need serious rehab and serious work in the next year. I don't think, you know, half the people who watched my appearance on Danny Jones, I wonder how many of them, you know, shut it off because they're so propagandized that they're like, no, this guy's definitely an agent, and I can't watch Danny Jones anymore because this guy's definitely an agent. Even though, like, I've done some of the, you know, if I was an agent, bro, my interviews with these insiders and stuff would have a proper number of views for how many subscribers I have. 10 months ago, I posted this video and 117,000 subscribers. It should have at least 10 times that amount of views in that long. This does not make sense. It is a systematic destruction of freedom of speech because of the information that I'm putting out there. And it goes against their mainstream propaganda that they want projected, that they've inserted on major platforms and networks successfully. So it's kind of crazy how the science stuff gets swept under the rug. Trying my best. Oh yeah, so Richard Bandurek. We can't end the stream and without talking about everything that's been going on with Richard Bandurek lately and in the past. So Richard came on APEC, one of the first guys, you know, way back in the day, and just blew everybody away with his field effect propulsion Q&A and you know, the work that he's done on field effect propulsion. And Bandurek is oh, what? So I gotta watch this. Oh no. You guys ready for this? We're gonna, oh please, I gotta check this out. And oh, what?
Fuel propulsion technologies. My background is electrical engineering and mathematics. And 40 years ago, I was involved in a company, the part owner that used to do reverse engineering. And one of the things that came out of there is some of the NGOs that were trying to reverse engineer advanced technologies that.
So there's been a bunch of posts about Bandurek. If you go on Twitter, right, Richard Bandurek, and I've asked him to come on my podcast. He said he can't like talk publicly, but he's working for Lockheed and NASA as an engineer, and he made several insane claims that trillions of UFO particles are scattered across Earth. He talks about materials that cloak, reassemble, and self-destruct. So there's these particles and machines that are like probes that if you try to like capture them and analyze them, they will self-destruct before you can get any information out of them or what they are. They interfere with electronics and communicate, too advanced to be human-made. Nanotech, basically, that we've been seeded completely with nanotech everywhere, trillions of particles. Weird flex, but okay. I just want to see a study done. As you know, SEM images. Someone's got to be able to look at some of this stuff. I mean, it can't all just. It's got to be made of some kind of pieces of stuff that you can see. And then the yeah, on the episode 69 of the Ecosystemic Futures podcast, that was a big one where all these people talk about a lot of crazy stuff. When he talks about the reverse engineering of non-human technology, describes extraordinary materials with smart properties, including self. So one of the crazy things is you look at the IBM scientists there. Who's the guy that was on to the crystals? Vogel. Yeah, the Vogel crystal documentary. Look up this guy, Vogel, and he was shown pieces of alien technology while working at IBM, and like did a live stream with the pieces, even on like an early video streaming kind of like platform that they had developed. And he did like a whole live stream on it and was like, yo, these are like alien materials, and was doing the analysis on it. And he said they took the materials back, and then he spent the rest of his life obsessed with like crystals, that crystals could heal and do all these magical things, and that crystals were like something huge. And this was like a lot of movies used this as like the sci-fi part of, you know, how to open portals and all that weird stuff. But yeah, this guy became obsessed with it. But Vogel was his name, and really interesting story. Yeah, I don't know about Trump, but you know, if he will get impeached, because they're all like protecting each other, man. They're all like, you know, it's like the murder of Epstein and the cover up of all that. It was like a marriage between Hillary and Trump. It's like, you know, calling Hillary Clinton a demon, and then they go and do that together. It's all going to come out. Yeah, I wish, man. You think you think so, Todd? Okay, it's good to hear. It's good to hear some alternative perspectives. So Todd Desiato worked with Hal Puthoff and worked with Bernard Haish and a lot of these other guys on a lot of the foundational work into the theories of this stuff. So, Todd, I know that's you in the chat. It's got to be Todd. There's no way. Bandurik's, yeah. Let's Todd. I'm going to send in this. I'd like to get Todd on to talk about Bandurik and give what he thinks about all this, because I haven't heard from Todd in a while, and let's see. I don't know if I got you on that email. Let me see. Yeah, there you are. Yeah, it's interesting because right around that time is when Jeremiah got super involved with Bandurik, and I think a number of other people that from our group are also involved with Bandurik, right? Like didn't Aiden move out there? And I'm not sure. I haven't talked to any of these people in a while, so it'd be good to get some inside scoop. Bandurik emailed me back and just basically said he can't talk. He can't, you know, do anything without being proved and stuff. So I was like, all right, sounds good. But I just sent out oh, you're working, man. It's busy. Yeah. All right. Damn. I wish you could. I hope you're well, and I hope you could join and tell us more about the falsehoods that Bandurik spread during his APEC presentation, and the other stuff, because I didn't realize that there's a lot of people putting him on par with Bob Lazar and Dan Burish, saying that he's a liar. This Psychoactivo podcast, I've never heard of them. I don't know. Am I following them? Shots fired. So he calls Bandurek a liar and stuff. Where's the part where someone asks him about the TR-3B, and he says that Ed Fouché was a liar on par with Dan Burish, and I don't know, someone. Did that happen? I gotta see about that. I gotta check into more of this stuff. If anyone has any debunkers, I don't know what's going on. And the math for his NSF proposal looked fine to me, so it's weird that his math on the APEC talk was a mess. Okay. Maybe he messed it up for the APEC talk to throw some stuff off. Just so, Michael, I think I sent you the. I wish you could join and discuss. I know you're probably at work too. What we need is more. We need a way to investigate all this stuff and verify it. You know, look at the Boogosphere stuff coming out 2 days.
It flew.
So this stuff was launched by Gaia around the same time as my Danny Jones podcast. It's just they're rolling out some interesting stuff this summer. We'll see, man. I will see if on Danny Jones my podcast blows up with that title. It should get a lot of views, man, because people are always going to be curious about how UFOs and Epstein are connected and how they relate. And as I showed before, Epstein was super interested in gravity. He had a number of these scientists all come out to his island, hosted these big conferences, brought him on his submarine where he gave him tours of the reef, so that Stephen Hawking here can't go scuba diving, obviously, but they brought him down on the submarine so he could do all this fun stuff. And another interesting character who was there and did go scuba diving and was on the submarine and the boat with Hawking and all these other guys is Lawrence Krauss. And Krauss was recently on Brian Keaton, right? So there's Brian Keating. This is the War on Science 1 day ago. Here it is. Let me bring this up for you all.
There is no systemic racism in universities. Universities used to be the most tolerant environments and the most enlightened environments for that reason. And to pretend that they're not, and to point out every single problem and suggest that its basis must be in racism or sexism without presenting evidence.
Right. Let's frame our argument around sexism and racism right from the get-go. And again, Brian Keaton lets him get away with this stuff because he's just, I don't know, really ignorant to a lot of this stuff. He doesn't watch my videos. He admits he never dug into my channel, never looked into any of this stuff, and that shows because he's completely ignorant of so much stuff. I would not have let Lawrence get away with that kind of diversion and defense. Right off the bat, I would ask him, what is up with Jeffrey Epstein and Robert Maxwell's he bought Pergamon Press and basically corrupted all these journals. So he controls physics. And then Jeffrey Epstein is this other guy who's trying to control physics and brings all the top gravity researchers and experts out onto his island, including Lawrence Krauss, who's this big spokesperson and gatekeeper for standard model official, sciencedom, academia version of the War on Science is the name of his book, but again, it's talking this. I don't know. He makes some good points and a good outline and stuff, and it's not, again, you can't judge the book by its cover because it's and then the distortion of science during COVID. I just want to hear what he says about that, because that's going to say all for us.
Up to you either.
Let's go back to a very dark period, the summer of 2020, and we witnessed great upheaval. We had COVID running rampant, and at least upheaving, if that's a word, the society here in the States, I'm sure there too. But then there was a more pernicious, insidious, invidious sort of indoctrination that made us all out to be racist, homophobic, STEM-hating individuals. And that then permeated to other areas. It bled through the blood-brain barrier to get to publishers, to get through books, to get through cancellation and the rampant cancellation culture. But what sorts of publications that did make it through the very tendacious goalposts of that time? What most kind of thought that that so
use that analogy? It's not so much of the COVID era with the distortion of science. And again, I'm going to take you on a slight detour, because I remember when COVID first came out, I thought this is going to be a great example, a learning experience for people to learn how science works. Because one of the big, I wrote a book, as the physics of Star Trek, and I said one of the biggest mistakes, or one of the biggest misconceptions that Star Trek gives, is that every major problem can be solved in an hour by Scotty or someone else, that every technological, and when in fact it takes a long time. And COVID is this unknown thing. And I was going to say, and science works by tentative steps that sure to be wrong, and then you learn the right thing and you move around and the experiments tell you this. Vanity is the case, and often ideas.
Oh God. Yeah, this is painful to listen to, especially with what real researchers and real investigators and channels know about BlackRock.
Stakeholder capitalism metrics.
Let's go back.
Hey, let's play a little game. Let's imagine you're Joe Q normie, and you need to run out for some groceries. You hop in the car and head to the store. What store do you go to? Why, Walmart, of course. And being an unwitting victim of the sugar conspiracy, what do you buy when you're there? Coke, naturally. And you can get jabbed at Walmart these days, right? Well, then you might as well make sure to get your 6th Moderna booster while you're there. And don't forget to fill up with gas on your way home. Is this creeping you out? Then why don't you shut yourself in your house and never go out shopping again? That'll show them. After all, you can always order everything you need from Amazon, can't you? Are you noticing a pattern here? Yes, in case you haven't heard, BlackRock Inc. is now officially everywhere. It owns everything. Sadly for us, however, the creepy corporate claws of the BlackRock beast aren't content simply to clutch onto a near plurality of the shares of every major corporation in the world. No. BlackRock is now digging its talons in even further and flexing its muscles, putting that inconceivable wealth and influence to use by completely reordering the economy, creating scamdemics, and shaping the course of civilization in the process. Let's face it, if you're not concerned about the power BlackRock wields over the world by this point, then you're not paying attention. But don't worry if all of this is news to you. Most people have no idea where this investment giant came from, how it clawed its way to the top of the Wall Street dogpile, or what it has planned for your future. Let's fill in that gap in public understanding. I'm James Corbett of the Corbett Report, and today you're going to learn the story of how BlackRock conquered the world.
Yes, Corbett is a gem, and he's definitely going to tell you a lot more about the COVID scamdemic than Jeffrey Epstein's friend.
Hold on a second, I hear you interject. I've got this. BlackRock was founded as a mergers and acquisitions firm in 1985 by a couple of ex-Lehmanites, and has since gone on to become the world's largest alternative investment firm, right? Wrong. That's Blackstone Inc., currently headed by Steven Schwarzman. But don't feel bad if you confuse the two. The Blackstone-BlackRock confusion was done on purpose. In fact, BlackRock began in 1988 as a business proposal by investment banker Larry Fink and a gaggle of business partners. The appropriately named Fink had managed to lose $100 million in a single quarter in 1986 as a manager at First Boston Investment Bank by betting the wrong way on interest rates. Humbled by this humiliating setback, or so the story goes, Fink turned lemons into lemonade by crafting a vision for an investment firm with an emphasis on risk management. Never again would Larry Fink be caught off guard by a market downturn. Fink assembled some partners and brought his proposal to Blackstone co-founders, Pete Peterson and Steven Schwarzman, who liked the idea so much that they agreed to extend Fink a $5 million line of credit in exchange for a 50% share in the business. Originally named Blackstone Financial Management, Fink's operation was turning a nice profit within months, had quadrupled the value of its assets in 1 year, and had grown the value of its portfolio under management to $17 billion by 1992. Now firmly established as a viable business in its own right, Schwarzman and Fink began musing about spinning the firm off from Blackstone and taking it public. Schwarzman suggested giving the newly independent company a name with Black in it as a nod to its Blackstone origins, and Fink, taking roguish delight in the inevitable confusion and annoyance such a move would cause, proposed the name BlackRock.
So Larry and I were sitting down, and he said, what do you think about, sort of having a family name, with Black in it? And I said, I think that's a good idea. And I think it was, he put on the table either Black Pebble or Black Rock. So he said, if we do something like this, all of our people will kill us.
The two evidently share the same sense of humor. There is a little confusion between the companies, Schwarzman now concedes, and every time that happens, I get a real chuckle. But a shared taste for causing unnecessary confusion was not enough to keep the partners together. By 1994, the two had fallen out over compensation for new hires, or perhaps due to distress over Schwarzman's ongoing divorce, depending who's telling the story, and Schwarzman sold Blackstone's holdings in BlackRock for a mere $240 million. That was certainly a heroic mistake, Schwarzman admits. Having made the split with Blackstone and established BlackRock as its own entity, Fink was firmly on the path that would lead to his company becoming the globe-bestriding financial colossus that it is today. In 1999, with its assets under management standing at $165 billion, BlackRock went public on the New York Stock Exchange at $14 per share. Expanding its services into analytics and risk management with its proprietary Aladdin Enterprise Investment System, more on which later, the firm acquired mutual fund company State Street Research and Management in 2004, merged with Merrill Lynch Investment Management, MLIM, in 2006, and bought Seattle-based Quellos Group's Fund of Hedge Funds business in 2007, bringing the total value of assets under BlackRock management to over $1 trillion. But it was the global financial crisis of 2007-2008 that catapulted BlackRock to its current position of financial dominance. Just ask Heike Buchter, the German correspondent who literally wrote the book on BlackRock. Prior to the financial crisis, I was not even familiar with the name. But in the years after the Lehman Brothers collapse in 2008, BlackRock appeared everywhere. Everywhere, Buchter told German news outlet DW in 2015. Even before the Bear Stearns fiasco materialized into the Lehman Brothers collapse and the full-on financial bloodbath of September 2008, Wall Street was collectively turning to BlackRock for help. AIG, Lehman Brothers, Fannie Mae, and Freddie Mac had all hired the firm to comb through their spiraling mess of credit obligations in the months before the meltdown. BlackRock was perceived to be the only firm that could sort through the dizzying math behind the complicated debt swaps and exotic financial instruments underlying the tottering financial system, and many Wall Street kingpins had Fink on speed dial as panic began to grip the markets. I think of it like Ghostbusters. When you have a problem, who are you going to call? BlackRock, UBS Managing Director Terence Keeley told CNN at the time. And why wouldn't they trust Fink to pick through the mess of the subprime mortgage meltdown? After all, he was the one who who helped launch the whole toxic subprime mortgage industry in the first place. Oh, did I forget to mention that? Remember the whole losing his job because he lost $100 million for First Boston in 1986 thing? That came just 3 years after Fink had made billions for the bank's customers by constructing his first collateralized mortgage obligation, CMO, and almost single-handedly created the subprime mortgage market that would fail so spectacularly in 2008.
Started First Boston in 1976. I was the first Freddie Mac bond trader. And so the mortgage market was just if its infancy. And then in 1982, we had the ability to put a PC on our trading desk. Before that, you had no ability to put a computer on a trading desk. And it was very clear to me that if we could have computing power on the trading desk, we were going to have the ability to dissect cash flows of mortgages. That led in 1983 to the first carving up a mortgage into different tranches, and so we created the first CMO.
So depending how you look at it, Fink was either the perfect guy to have in charge of sorting out the mess that his CMO monstrosity had created, or the first Fink who should have gone to jail for it. Guess which way the US government chose to see it? Yeah, you guessed right. They saw Fink as their savior, of course. Specifically, the US government turned to BlackRock for help, with beleaguered US Treasury Secretary Timothy Geithner personally consulting Larry Fink no less than 49 times over the course of the 18-month crisis. Lest there be any doubt who was calling the shots in that relationship, when Geithner was on the ropes and his position as Secretary of the Treasury was in jeopardy at the end of Obama's first term, Fink's name was on the short list of those who were being considered to replace him. The Federal Reserve, too, put its faith in BlackRock, turning to the company for assistance in administering the 2008 bailouts. Ultimately, BlackRock ended up playing a role in the $30 billion financing of the sale of Bear Stearns to JP Morgan, the $180 billion bailout of AIG, and the $45 billion rescue of Citigroup. When the dust finally settled on Wall Street after the Lehman Brothers collapse, there was little doubt who was sitting on top of the dust pile: BlackRock. The only question was how they would parlay their growing wealth and financial clout into real-world political power. For Fink, the answer was obvious: move from the petty crime of high finance into the criminal big leagues of government. Accordingly, throughout the last decade, he has spent his time building up BlackRock's political influence, until it has become, as even Bloomberg admits, the de facto fourth branch of government. When BlackRock executives managed to get their hands on a confidential Federal Reserve PowerPoint presentation threatening to subject BlackRock to the same regulatory regime as the big banks, the Wall Street behemoth spent millions successfully lobbying the government to drop the proposal. But lobbying the government is a roundabout way to get what you want. As any good financial guru will tell you, it's far more cost-efficient to make sure that no troublesome regulations are imposed in the first place. Perhaps that's why Fink has been collecting powerful politicians for years now, scooping them up as consultants, advisors, and board members, so that he can ensure BlackRock has a key agent at the heart of any important political event. As William Engdahl details in his own expose of BlackRock, BlackRock founder and CEO Larry Fink is clearly interested in buying influence globally. He made former German CDU MP Friedrich Merz head of BlackRock Germany when it looked as if he might succeed Chancellor Merkel, and former British Chancellor of Exchequer George Osborne as a political consultant. Fink named former Hillary Clinton Chief of Staff Cheryl Mills to the BlackRock board when it seemed certain Hillary would soon be in the White House. He has named former central bankers to his board and gone on to secure lucrative contracts with their former institutions. Stanley Fischer, former head of the Bank of Israel and also later vice chairman of the Federal Reserve, is now senior advisor at BlackRock. Philip Hildebrand, former Swiss National Bank president, is vice chairman at BlackRock, where he oversees the BlackRock Investment Institute. Jean Boivin, the former deputy governor of the Bank of Canada, is the global head of research at BlackRock's Investment Institute. And it doesn't end there. When it came time for Biden's handlers to appoint the director of the National Economic Council, responsible for the coordination of policymaking on both domestic and international economic issues, naturally they turned to Brian Deese, the former global head of sustainable investing at BlackRock Inc. And the rest, as they say, is history. Or, more accurately, is the present. Because when we peel back the layers of propaganda from the past 3 years, we find that the remarkable events of the scamdemic have absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with a virus. We are instead witnessing a changeover in the monetary and economic system that was conceived, proposed, and then implemented by, you guessed it, BlackRock. Capital requirement.
Yeah, so he talks about the Fed. And then this part is super interesting right here. I'm just going to skip. I have to skip this because it's just a whole bunch of banking stuff. But this is the key.
The more reserves they have parked at the Fed, the more bank money they're allowed to conjure into existence and lend out into the real economy. The gap between Fed-created reserve money and bank-created bank money acts as a type of circuit breaker, and this is why the flood of reserve money that the Fed created in the wake of the global financial crisis of 2008 did not result in a spike in commercial bank deposits. But all that changed 3 years ago. As Titus observes, by the time of the scamdemic bailouts of 2020, the amount of bank money sitting in deposit in commercial banks in the US, a figure which had never shown any correlation with the total amount of reserves held on deposit at the Fed, suddenly spiked in lockstep with the Fed's climbing balance sheet. Clearly, something had happened between the 2008 bailout and the 2020 bailout. Whereas the tidal wave of reserve money unleashed to capitalize the banks in the earlier bailout hadn't found its way into the real economy, the 2020 bailout money had. So, what happened? BlackRock happened. That's what. Specifically, on August 15th, 2019, BlackRock published a report under the typically eye-wateringly boring title, Dealing with the Next Downturn, From Unconventional Monetary Policy to Unprecedented Policy Coordination. Although the paper did not catch the attention of the general public, it did generate some press in the financial media, and, much more to the point, generated interest from the gaggle of central bankers who descended on Jackson Hole, Wyoming, for the annual Jackson Hole Economic Symposium taking place on August 22nd, 2019, the exact same day that Fink was being appointed to the WEF's board. The theme of the 2019 symposium, which brings together central bankers, policymakers, economists, and academics to discuss economic issues and policy options, was Challenges for Monetary Policy. And BlackRock's paper, published a week in advance of the event, was carefully crafted to set the parameters of that discussion. It's no surprise that the report caught the attention of the central bankers. After all, BlackRock's proposal came with a pedigree. Of the 4 co-authors of the report, 3 of them were former central bankers themselves. As we've seen, Philip Hildebrand, the former president of the Swiss National Bank, Stanley Fischer, the former Federal Reserve Vice Chairman and former governor of the Bank of Israel, and Jean Boivin, the former deputy governor of the Bank of Canada. But beyond the paper's authorship, it was what Dealing with the Next Downturn actually proposed that was to have such earth-shaking effects on the global monetary order. The report starts by noting the dilemma that the central bankers found themselves in by 2019. After years of quantitative easing, QE, and ZIRP, zero interest rate policy, and even the once unthinkable NIRP, negative interest rate policy, the banksters were running out of room to operate. As BlackRock notes, the current policy space for global central banks is limited and will not be enough to respond to a significant, let alone a dramatic, downturn. Conventional and unconventional monetary policy works primarily through the stimulative impact of lower short-term and long-term interest rates. This channel is almost tapped out. 1/3 of the developed market government bond and investment grade universe now has negative yields, and global bond yields are closing in on their potential floor. Further support cannot rely on interest rates falling. So what was BlackRock's answer to this conundrum? Why, a great reset, of course. No, not Klaus Schwab's Great Reset. A different type of Great Reset, the going direct reset. An unprecedented response is needed when monetary policy is exhausted and fiscal policy alone is not enough. That response will likely involve going direct. Going direct means the central bank finding ways to get central bank money directly in the hands of public and private sector spenders. Going direct, which can be organized in a variety of different ways, works by 1. bypassing the interest rate channel when this traditional central bank toolkit is exhausted, and 2, enforcing policy coordination so that the fiscal expansion does not lead to an offsetting increase in interest rates. The authors of BlackRock's proposal go on to stress that they're not talking about simply dumping money into people's bank accounts willy-nilly. As report co-author Philip Hildebrand made sure to stress in his appearance on Bloomberg on the day of the paper's release, this was not Bernanke's helicopter money idea.
So what we're proposing is the next step has to be something else than just more of the same, something that goes into the direction of essentially what we call go and direct, which would be ways of putting money into pockets of consumers or corporates directly in order to spend. So to go around the interest rate channel as opposed to traditional central banking where you really only or always work through the interest rate channel.
So kind of like helicopter money, does it have to be coordinated?
I think what it means, helicopter money is a sort of catchphrase from a famous paper that Ben Bernanke gave in the early 2000s. But the point is, yes, you have to go in a different way than working through the interest rate channel because interest rates are already so low.
Nor was it, as report co-author Jean Boivin was keen to stress in his January 2020 appearance on BlackRock's own podcast discussing the idea, a version of modern monetary theory, MMT, with the government simply printing up bank money to spend directly into the economy. No, this was to be a process where special purpose facilities, which they called Standing Emergency Fiscal Facilities, SEFFs, would be created to inject bank money directly into the commercial accounts of various public or private sector entities. These SEFFs would be overseen by the central bankers themselves, thus crossing the streams of the two monetary circuits in a way that had never been done before. Any additional measures to stimulate economic growth will have to go beyond the interest rate channel and go direct, with the central bank crediting private or public sector accounts directly with money. One way or another, this will mean subsidizing spending, and such a measure would be fiscal rather than monetary by design. This can be done directly through fiscal policy or by expanding the monetary policy toolkit with an instrument that will be fiscal in nature, such as credit easing by way of buying equities.
Yeah, this is really crazy stuff, man. And I encourage you guys, go watch the rest. I'm not going to, rip off James's whole video. You got to go to his channel and subscribe to this dude. Ring that bell. Corbett Report on YouTube. He's back 4 days ago, and absolute fire from James Corbett. He had gotten banned during the pandemic, and he kind of went really off the deep end and nuts during the whole pandemic. But then again, a lot of people did, so it's understandable. And but he's back, man. We're fighting. This is our final hour, guys. Like literally, like we're running out of time to something needs to be done to take these people out, man. And this is really our time, man. I really hope that I nailed it on that show. A couple things I could have done different, like when he was asking me about Corbell, and he said, "Oh, everyone accuses everyone of being, psyops and working for the government." But my response to that should have been, Jeremy Corbell has a if you have a show on TMZ called UFO Revolution, you're not the UFO revolution, bro. It's just sickening, dude, how they've put this stuff out there and pushed it on the public. The disinformation is coming to an end. I think that's ridiculous that Jeremy Corbell makes this prediction in January about something we all knew was coming, or if anyone, the right person who paid attention would have known that this was going to be coming, and could have set this up as the perfect distraction story. And the fact that they rolled out that whole story right as I did drop that interview that is going to get Joe Rogan's attention, they're trying hard to distract and throw mud in the water, and also make Corbell look like a legitimate, good guy who's exposing the bad ops. And we're going to expose these. Don't you believe this Harvard scientist saying that this is an alien probe coming to visit Earth? Don't you believe him? And it couldn't be more theater. It couldn't be more obvious theater from this poser, fake poser, pretending that you're a UFO journalist, and you don't cover any real shit, man. You're not, and you're bringing a whole misprojected view of this whole entire subject to the public and to Congress. The Congress shouldn't be looking at any of your bullshit, any of your grifting fucking scam artist nonsense. Yeah, we should have Congress setting up, looking into the UFO program, seeing, you know, we want crash retrieval stuff. If this stuff doesn't exist, it should, and it should be public, and people should know about this, these programs. That we should have programs in place in case, you know, an interstellar visitor does visit. All these things should be already set up and real. If they're not already, if they're real, then they need to be exposed. But I mean, to think that this guy is the guy to do it is just, I've been watching him since the get-go, and if there's anything that he did that, you know, was impressive in the slightest, is I see this guy for what he is. Useful idiot. The CIA spotted this man, knew he had an ego off the hook, and they're just using him. I just get the worst vibe ever when I watch Jeremy Corbell, and the things that he's done behind the scenes. I have evidence that he's sent emails to people involved in the Bob Lazar case, telling them not to talk to me when I approached them for interviews. And when I did approach them, they forwarded me the emails, you know, saying that, oh, Jeremy Corbell told me not to talk to you, and you know, I hate that guy, so obviously I'm going to talk to you, because I want to find out why he doesn't want me to talk to you, because he's obviously up to no good. And people involved with the Bob Lazar story obviously knew that too. But, you know, it's crazy. I'm surprised that these aren't getting more hits, man. These things should be getting, should be blowing up. Anyways, yeah, looking for more discussions, more open debates, and hopefully getting on more podcasts here in the future. And we'll see what comes out of all this science stuff. I've always said that I think the real disclosure is going to come out of one of the apex scientists, or this group of scientists that we've put together, and we're working on some stuff that if there's any success, we're going to have some really big news here soon, that we're going to need these blockchain technologies and other technologies to really preserve and make sure they don't scrub it from the internet once we put it together. So I just want to tell everyone again, if you're not subscribed to my channel already, please hit that like button on the video. Please hit the subscribe video. I need help, all the help I can get right now. I just got ripped off like 15 grand. I was supposed to get paid on this big job, and I got like baby formula to buy and rent due and all kinds of, you know, financial problems now, thanks to bum people who want to rip off contractors. And you know, I really get angry when I see all these comments on the Danny Jones video calling me, saying, oh, this guy's definitely paid disinfo. And like, dude, if you knew my financial condition and what just happened to me right now, like Lou Elizondo can afford all these crazy lawyers and shit, man. And, you know, these people are going to go after me for exposing the truth about, you know, those torture techniques that were done by the CIA, and how they extracted the confession from Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. If they really get the truth about that, and if he's allowed to testify, I know that I've seen some stuff and heard some stuff that has shown me, you know, what went on for real. And I said what I said, but that all needs to get investigated and come out. And you know, it's crazy. I could get, you know, they've threatened to go after people who expose that stuff, and man, I'm real worried right now for what I exposed. The stuff that I exposed on Danny Jones is no laughing matter. It's no lightweight stuff, man. Like, I dropped real heavy, real serious stuff on 4 hours worth of just absolute fire on that podcast. And you know, if you haven't seen it yet, go watch it. And you know, I just didn't like that And at the end, he kept trying to get me to like, I don't know. It's like, dude, you want me to get on? Danny obviously wants me on Joe Rogan. He wants me to Joe Rogan to watch my show and get my. He wants me to get the attention of Joe Rogan, but I was just surprised that he tried to throw me off so much and under the bus with when I was trying to talk shit about Jeremy Corbell, and he's like, "You mean Joe Rogan?" I'm like, "No, I'm talking about Jeremy Corbell," and he's like, "No, you mean Joe Rogan?" Like, "No, I'm not, dude. Like, why are you trying to like do that to me?" But anyways, that was the only problem I had with it. But man, I got so many people saying, like, you look up my stuff on Lazar and Corbell, and I'm super accurate, man. You can go fact check everything I said. It's all fucking there. And if when the truth comes out about, the fake 9/11 mastermind fake confession and how it was gained and garnered and who was there, then the truth will come out on that. And if it's got to go through court systems and discovery, then so be it. I'm sure I can, if it gets to that point, I can crowdsource funding. I've already had lawyers can contact me and say they'd volunteer for the case because of what they know is going to be in it. So I've already got people interested and on my side, in my corner with this. And we have to take down the deep state, man. These people generate threat narratives to create wars, to sell billion-dollar contracts to their companies and stuff, and they dominate these businesses like they did with the thin thread software. And it would cost $3 million of taxpayer money to make that thin thread software that would have protected Americans, right? And the NSA and James Clapper went and threw away that whole thing and stole their software, repurposed it, took out all the protections that we would have had, and then charged the American taxpayers billions for it through an SAIC contract called the Trailblazer program. And so I talk about all that, key stuff. This is all key, and it's all laid out if people want it in my I'm going to post my technical my summary of all this stuff so people can see it. And I've worked my entire life on this to try to bring this information out to the public and get it on finally getting some attention on some large platforms. And I hope that more people watch this and get an understanding of this information, because it's so relevant and key to everything that's going on. All the people that why is this going on? Why is that happening? Well, it all makes sense when you have all the pieces of this puzzle. It's a 50-year crime spree. The UFO cover-up and the 9/11 cover-up are financial crimes that utilized classified technologies as psyops on the American people. And they're run by some of the same people. This Lou Elizondo guy's running the psyops on both ends. He was no Pentagon expert on UFOs, showing it's a massive crime spree, and we need to arrest and stop these people, everyone involved. And these people are running the country, and it just came out that Trump kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago, not because because of a 14-year-old girl they were fighting over. That's ridiculous, man. Like, that's what's coming out right now. It's like, dude, who can still support this guy and be part of the propaganda anymore, man? It's over. It's done, man. Look up the reality of what happened with and why Trump kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago. Like, I had people telling me, oh, he kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago because he knew he was into this underage girls and all this stuff. And no, this is not the full story. When you dig into the full story, you read the complaints and the arguments and all that stuff, man. It's and then Kamala Harris, dude, you don't understand. Like, this is like the Skull and Bones election of 2000 with Kerry versus Bush, man. Kamala Harris was just as bad. She was the prosecutor for the state of California, remember? And she's the one that blocked the reopening and investigation of the RFK assassination. Like, they were going to go after the CIA agents inside inside LAPD, you know, Hank Hernandez and Manuel Pina, the two CIA agents that destroyed evidence and covered up that investigation, and the real assassin, who was Thane Eugene Caesar, the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works security guard that, you know, sold the pistol 2 days after the assassination to a coworker, and, you know, that tried to hide all the evidence for decades. Yeah, these people were all, it's aerospace were connected to that JFK assassination, and then Kamala's part of the group that covered that up. So they're all bad, man. They're all so corrupt, and they're all cover up for each other, man. Yeah, you look up what she did. One of the things she did as the DA of California was block the RFK assassination reinvestigation. It was coming up into the DOJ. They were gonna refer it to the the Department of Justice, and they were gonna bring Thane Eugene Caesar back and then he died. And it's like, dude, they covered this all up, man. I don't think we can vote our way out of the problem, man. You see how deep it is and how bad it is with the deep state and how much they control, man. We cannot vote our way out of this problem, I don't believe. I don't think voting does anything anymore, man. So, yeah, convicted rapist Donald Trump in the White House, you know? So, I don't know. I'd rather have it just, I think this is perfect for America, that Trump is just totally exposed for this Epstein connection, and I think this is the best option that America could have right now, is that to have Trump as president, because he's totally just showing how corrupt it is to everybody blatantly. Oh, now it's in your face. You can't even hide it. All the big channels are seeing through it, and they're starting to really, thank God for the podcasting and alternative media, because, you know, the watchdogs and CNN and Fox News, they're all asleep, man. You know, well, it's money, man. It's they lure these girls with money and fame and fortune and stuff. It's you know, how do you blur the line of consent if you want for underage girls, man? They were 15. Working at a spa. It's the Epstein client list, man, and the list of people we've thrown out there. It's all the Epstein list is the Iran Contra network. These are the same scum that they've been on a decades long crime spree in this country, and I need your help to expose them and put them to a stop. Every little bit helps. I appreciate again, I'm gonna run through the super chats. Taryn Art, thanks for the $10. Another $10, $5 from Diadon. Keep your face towards the sun and shadows will fall behind, brother. Diadon with conscious energy. Thank you for that, brother. Rogan probably has a Netflix deal with Graham Hancock weirdness, but you did a good job on Danny Jones. Yeah, you never know. I can't accuse these people of being shills or bought out without evidence. It's just so in your face with Corbell. Like, I got a show on TMZ called The UFO Revolution and a podcast called Weaponized. New membership, man. Thank you guys for your support. Let's keep up the good fight. And again, when disclosure breaks, it's going to be through this channel and on this network, man. We're going to be one of the first people to cover it when it happens. So, yeah, keep up the good fight. And I appreciate all the financial help and support, guys. Again, links in the description below for my Venmo and Cashapp and PayPal and a Bitcoin if you want to contribute. And I'm also looking for investors. I want to do a documentary, but I need a couple grand to do a documentary. So I want to talk with someone who maybe wants to fund any one of the documentaries that I could do. I've been involved in so much crazy stuff over the years, dude. You know that Balloon Boy? They just made a new Netflix documentary on the whole Balloon Boy thing, which is, a month ago here. I just thought that was ridiculous because in the summer of 2009, I actually worked with Richard Heaney a lot of this anti-gravity stuff. I knew all 3 of his kids, his wife. I ate dinner, grilled hot dogs in this backyard, and filmed him for stuff in that backyard. So it's just crazy. He stopped talking to me like 2 months before he did that hoax thing with the balloon, and accused me of working for the CIA and all this stuff. Man, he's a real weird character, and it's crazy seeing his kids all grown up, man. I knew them when they were little like that. That was the last time I've seen them. But they all moved to Florida. Yeah, it's crazy, dude. But, you know, all these people have done this, the inside story, the official story. I see all these people doing documentaries and investigating it, and ain't nobody contacted me, dude. It's been out there that I could prove, you know, I knew him and talked to him. I have emails and stuff back and forth. I have, you know, I could prove it, you know, but again, I knew when they was on Wolf Blitzer and Falcon threw up and said we did it for the show. I knew that they had staged it, and it was like all a publicity stunt, man. But again, they try to frame it as other stuff. He's tried to twist it around. He doesn't, you know, but it is what it is. It's crazy what happened. But anyways, it's all these things I could do. I could tell so many stories that are like the real story, and yet I watch all these crappy drama, fake bullshit that's out there, man. It's not the reality of a lot of stuff. So be careful what you're seeing out there and what's promoted in the algorithmic. The algorithms are not your friend, man. But it's glad that I'm finally coming up in them. Yeah, I stopped watching his stuff too, man. It's just too nutty, especially the stuff about you knew this asteroid was coming, and like there was probably a report or something about this. You got to go back and find that he knew Avi Loeb would be talking about this year, and that this thing's coming. So, I mean, this is not like some prolific prediction. You know, I just can't believe that this guy's getting all this credit for being like, oh my God, Corbell predicted this back in January. And I'm like, bro, like I predicted this 14 years ago. I have video. We showed the video. You go to look up Carol Rawson on my channel and watch that video. In fact, we're going to watch that right now as our outro video. So go to my channel and type in Carol Rawson and go down how a faked alien invasion could jumpstart the New World Order. I posted this video 14 years ago.
When I was a corporate manager of Fairchild Industries in 1974 through 77, I met the late Dr. Werner von Braun in early 74. At that time, von Braun was dying of cancer, but he assured me that he would live a few more years in order to tell me about the game that was being played, that game being the effort to weaponize space, to control the Earth from space and space itself. Von Braun's purpose in life during the last years of his life, his dying years, was to educate the public and decision makers about why space-based weapons are a dumb, dangerous, destabilizing, too costly, unnecessary, unworkable, undesirable idea. The strategy that Werner von Braun taught me was that first the Russians are going to be considered to be the enemy. In fact, when I met him in 74, they were the enemy, the identified enemy. We were told that they had killer satellites. We were told that they were coming to get us and control us, the dirty commies, that whole story. First, the Russians were the enemy against whom we're going to build space-based weapons. Then terrorists would be identified, and that was soon to follow. We heard a lot about terrorism. Then we were going to identify third world country crazies. We now call them nations of concern. But he said that would be the third enemy against whom we would be needing to build space-based weapons. And the next enemy was asteroids. Now, at this point, he kind of chuckled the first time he said it. Asteroids, against asteroids, we're going to build space-based weapons. So it was funny then. And the funniest one of all was against what he called aliens, extraterrestrials. That would be the final card. And over and over and over during the 4 years that I knew him and was giving his speeches for him, he would bring up that last card. And remember, Carol, the last card is the alien card. We're going to have to build space-based weapons against aliens. And all of it, he said, is a lie. He didn't mention a timeline, but he said that it was going to be speeding up faster than anybody could possibly imagine. That the effort to put weapons in space was not only based on a lie, but would accelerate past the point of people even understanding it until it was already up there and too late. In 1977, I was at a meeting in Fairchild Industries in a conference room called the War Room. This is 1977. And they were talking about creating a war in the Gulf region when there was $25 billion in the space-based weapons program that yet had not been identified. It wasn't called the Strategic Defense Initiative, at least, until 1983. This weapons system then had obviously been going on for some time that I didn't know anything about. So I stood up in this meeting in 1977 and it said, I'd like to know why we're talking about space-based weapons against these enemies. I'd like to know more about this. Would somebody tell me what this is about? Nobody answered. They went on with this meeting as though I hadn't said anything.
Dr. Carol Rawson is one of over 450 witnesses who have come forward with inside information that they were told to shut up about. That first clip was from the Disclosure Project Witness Testimony series on Google.
Oh God, that was way back in the day with my crappy mic. Holy shit, it's been years since I've revisited this. But yeah, she.
The late Dr. Wernher von Braun in the U.S., the father of rocketry.
That was her testimony at the Disclosure Project hearing in June of 2001. 9/11 would happen just a few months later, switching the threat of communist threat. The Cold War had ended, and so the communist threat had to start. And that's what the transition that would happen shortly after this hearings for disclosure that were pushes for the government to do disclosure. And the Bush administration and Dick Cheney had much different plans on the agenda than disclosure and getting us, the American people, the truth about, things that could get us off of oil, right? Why would they want us to have anything that could get us off of oil? Anyways, yeah, it's nuts what happened immediately after that and everything that's happened since. So
Then in 27.
Yeah, we go back to that. I mean, this is 14 years ago that I was talking about them doing this, talking about 9/11, talking about all this stuff. Again, not putting all the pieces together, but at least starting a lot of the investigations that would later lead to all the stuff we've come out with. But what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, I want to talk about the underground bases, man. What do you guys think about? One of the clear things is that they're all the elites are going to fly to Denver Airport. That's like the place that they go, where there's an underground passages and there's all these backdoor tunnels and stuff. And there's a whole link to an underground city and network. It goes straight into NORAD and the Iron Mountain facility. There's an underground train and tunnel system that will directly bring them. They all fly into Denver Airport, and then they can get on this secret elite tunnel system that brings them right to Iron Mountain. So they're all, that's just one of the places. There's all these other evacuation cities and underground hidden places beneath golf courses and all over the country. Well, there's tons of these places. I did a whole expose on all of them one time in one video that you could probably find on my channel from way back. I've forgotten half the stuff now, and it would be too much to go and dig it all up. But the entire plan is that they're ready, man. When time for the shit to hit the fan, dude. They're all just going to try to hide underground and probably do something horrible to us all here on the surface so that they can just come back without us. So they're not going down. These demons that are in complete control of everything, and they're trying to depopulate us and kill us and starve us and steal all of our money and own all of our property, own our houses. I mean, these are true real life demons, and the things that they're setting up are hell apocalypse scapes that you never want your children born into. That kind of a society and that kind of a control system, completely run by AI and surveillance technologies and the government, where the government knows everything about you, but you can't know anything about what this elite master group of elite aliens or pedophiles or whatever the heck they are. They're some pretty demonic entities that are in control and not going to prison, not getting arrested. They have this planned out. They know what they're doing, and that's the scariest part of it all, because there really needs to be a systematic, like overnight, a takedown of all the key people. There needs to be like a task force that could arrest all these people all at once. But it would be so hard to do because they have so much private security and so much private infrastructure. It's yeah. So there's these the underground cities in Kentucky, right? That was another one right in the East Coast or the mid central United States. There's all these Louisville mega cavern. It's a big limestone cavern that there's all kinds of caves in Kentucky. There's Raven Rock. There's all these, Raven Rock Mountain Complex, right? So this is a whole giant underground base there up under the mountain with the entry roads into. I mean, you can see right on Google Earth where the roads go in. There's a deep, huge underground military complex there at the Raven Rock facility. So the White House will go there, or any of these other facilities. There's a number of them, so they're all ready to go and hide underground and drop a super virus on us. I mean, I don't understand how Bill Gates and Fauci never got prosecuted. Rand Paul's got a small initiative going, trying to get momentum behind prosecuting these guys, but it's just, I'm like, why doesn't this have 50,000 likes? I mean, why isn't there more of this? And there's so much propaganda and so much disinformation that they've put out to really shield what they're doing. But I mean, Gates is doing the super mosquitoes, right? I mean, this guy's like a super villain. We're gonna make to the mosquito project, right? We're not responsible for the recent outbreak in a rare type of malaria cases that are in the area. Totally not related to the mosquito engineering program that we're doing, right? Like, this is the worst thing ever. I hate mosquitoes more than anything on this entire planet, and it's crazy, man. Yeah, it's crazy. It's like Lex Luthor, dude. He loved the islands, man. He went there many, many times. His wife divorced him over it, and he'd go vacation there with his ex. Crazy shit, man. Yeah, man. It's wrong internet tab, Jeremy. Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, I don't even have it on here. It's got this is why I need new computers. I need to get a better setup, man. I had a bad last couple of years, man, I had all my computers stolen. I had to start over on this Mac laptop, which I don't even really know how to use. It's really difficult to do a lot of stuff because the screen sharing and everything's so different, and I can't run the programs that I like to run on the Mac. So I had a real good setup on this PC that I was using, and it all got stolen, and my house got like robbed. All my stuff got taken, and I got like wrapped up in a whole bunch of bullshit. And I'm trying to make a comeback with this online thing, and if it doesn't work, then I don't really know what the heck I'm gonna do here in the next couple of months. I might have to move down. I might have to go down south and try to work some jobs down out of state for a couple months, because there's just no money up here in the democratic hell of Massachusetts with what Trump's doing to the economy and everything. So yeah, all those appreciate all that, and I'm definitely looking more into Mike Bence's connections. Yeah, the whole thing he made between these aircraft companies and command. You know, he talks about Operation Air America and how that's super tied to the whole Epstein thing of drug running and gun running, and it's like makes the whole Fast and Furious thing look like a small drop in the pond. Compared to what they were doing. And, you know, of course, Corbell will never talk about any of that stuff at all, ever. It's so limited hangout ops. They do not want people learning about real deep state stuff and connecting it to the UFO file and how corrupt it is. But, yeah, what was I going to do? I want to show you the caves. Underground cities. And the Pizzagate thing, man, that was just nuts. I can't believe people called me out for that and stuff. And the dude shot up the wrong place, dude, from some QAnon propaganda. It was all psyops. Distract people from real stuff. Dick Cheney and Donald Rumsfeld's job was to plan 9/11 on the continuity of government programs, disaster scenario, think tanks. Those are your masterminds of 9/11, not Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. Let's be serious. The financial crimes of all of it, man. That's 100% the fucking percent the lie you're going to be told. Now makes him look like, you know, like he's some kind of truth teller, dude. You've been telling lies. This dude's been telling lies since he appeared in 2017, right? Since he appeared on the scene, I can list all the things he's lied about. The Boca flares, the jellyfish UFO, party balloon UFO. They've had 80 years, yeah, to dig an entire country and tunnel system underneath us, dude. Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. Anyone in the Northeast, email me if you need anything done, man. Yeah. I could maybe do that. I ran out of room on this computer already because some of my files, man. So I need to get a new computer with like everything. And I'm so much more comfortable on just a PC machine. I really need to. I don't know. I want to look for people in the area or anyone that's. I'm willing to move, man. I want to start my own studio and get like. Start doing documentaries and real serious media with a big company. I could direct a lot of the writing and research and stuff on some of those projects. And that's what I'm really looking at, get teamed up with some serious people and do that. So that's my next step. And I'm willing to move and work with anyone that wants to reach out, anyone that, you know, needs someone like that, man, I'm your man, and I'm down to do it. So, yeah. So let me know. I gotta get going though, guys. It's been I don't want to go too much longer than 2 hours. So check out the Demystify Sci podcast. Subscribe to these guys. Subscribe to Corbett Report. Subscribe to Dark Journalist. Subscribe to follow Red Panda Koala. Make sure you follow him on Twitter. Make sure you follow Tupacabra. Tupacabra. Go in spaces and listen to these guys. Follow Shane the Walrus. Where is he? Yeah, UFA Shane Walrus of Legend. Make sure you follow these guys. Check out Andreas Zertis' channel. It's one of my buddies. Andreas Zertis. Yeah, this guy right here. Check out his channel. Also, check out Quite Frankly podcast. Frank's another cool dude and a friend of mine. Let me see, who else can I give a shout out to while I'm here? Obviously, Jesse Michaels on the UAP Gerb interview. Check out UAP Gerb and UAP Gerb's work. Definitely doing some really cool research and really deep digging on SAIC and the UFO legacy programs, really connecting a lot of it, because I couldn't figure out, it was a black hole in the research. I'm like, this company SAIC is definitely tied to CIA and all this other stuff, but they were founded in the late 1960s, but I can't find anything about what they did originally and where they went. And you know, that was a couple months ago, and UAP Gerb dug into it and came up with some real interesting stuff, man. Just I was blown away with what he's talking about. So yeah, guys, check that out and check out those channels if you want to be plugged in to more FIRE information, more FIRE researchers who are not the controlled limited hangout ops that you see being promoted in the algorithm, but real awesome, interesting information. And thanks for getting me on these podcasts, and definitely need to do more of these podcasts. Social media is so fake, and there's so many even people that have small podcasts that want to get me on. I'm putting myself out there, so reach out. I'm going to do the podcast scene for the next year and try to get on some big shows. So definitely throw my name out there. And anytime these podcasts are asking, oh, who should I get for a guest? Be like, oh, JeremyRys, AlienScientist. Check him out on Danny Jones. Throw my name out there. The more people I have doing that, the more people I have supporting me. That's word of mouth is the number one way I get all my jobs for my business and my work, man. I like put ads out. I barely get good hits or anything, and it's all your contacts and people vouching for you, dude. If you know a guy who knows a guy and you tell a guy, that's everything right there. You're making the connection for me. So I appreciate that when people go out and go on, because you're breaking the algorithm with that, because the algorithm is going to suggest all that it's bullshit that it wants you to see. But if you're out there telling people, you know, posting my name, saying AlienScientist, you got to plug into this guy. He's, you know, the guy you need to get on your podcast to talk about stuff. And that's what's going to help me. That's what's going to catapult me out there and get the information going. So appreciate it, and appreciate all your help. And, you know, thanks, and have a great day.